In the modern day, Apple's iPhone is arguably the most popular and most well-known smartphone on the market, with more than 1.5 billion active users as of 2023. Since its first model, the iPhone moniker has come a long way, and is now universally recognised as a symbol of overall technological advancement, product and process innovation alongside clean and sleek design. But despite this, behind the shiny machine polished edges of the iPhone is a truly dark and disturbing story revolving around unethical production practices. This is the dark side of the iPhone. In recent years, the Apple production process as a whole has come into question many times. But specifically when looking at the iPhone, the production of the iPhone has been plagued with numerous ethical and human rights concerns, which has raised serious concerns about the morality of the device's producer, and also the consumers who are willing to pay for these products year after year. But let's go even further. Let's dig deeper and look at the actual processes which make the iPhone's production so tragic and dark. Let's start off with one of the most significant ethical issues, something which has come under fire in recent years: the use of sweatshop labour. In recent years, Apple, the company that of course produces the iPhone, has been accused of using sweatshops in developing countries by numerous sources. These sources allege that workers in these sorts of environments are generally very low paid and work extremely long hours, and are subjected to hazardous and arguably unethical working conditions. Generally speaking, the workers in sweatshops are sometimes children, and can be paid as little as $1 per hour, meaning that they simply cannot afford basic necessities such as appropriate food, housing and healthcare. This often means that they are essentially forced to live in poverty. And whilst it is only alleged that Apple uses sweatshops, the exploitation of workers in this way would be a clear violation of human rights, and would likely be seen as wholly unacceptable by most iPhone users. And whilst these alleged sweatshops seem bad enough, this is only one of the issues, as the allegations go on. Another thing which is often overshadowed in the production process of the iPhone is the environmental impact that manufacturing has. I mean, think about it. The product itself requires a lot of environmental resources, such as precious minerals and metals, water and energy. As we uncovered in the electric car documentary, the extraction of these resources often leads to environmental damage and can even lead to displacement of local communities. In addition to actually getting these resources to a point where they can produce an iPhone, they then go under the iPhone production process, which also generates a significant amount of waste and pollution, which can have a long-lasting effect on the environment and the health of local people who live near factories, who are often poor to begin with. Fortunately, however, this is one of the details about iPhone production which has come under fire in recent years, and people are starting to draw a light to this as climate concerns continue to grow. And Apple has been criticised for not doing enough to reduce its environmental impact, and also not being transparent enough around the production process of the iPhone, because honestly, this is one of the areas where transparency is key, as climate change really does affect everybody. However, it's something which big brands like Apple continue to ignore and diminish the severity of. People don't always seem to realise that unethical practices in big business have implications for consumers over time. When purchasing a new iDevice, the exploitation of workers and environmental degradation that occurs during the production process is not always at the forefront of consumers' minds. Although, it doesn't mean that it does not affect them, as when they purchase electronic devices from big companies, they are indirectly supporting these unethical practices. And looking at this more objectively, Apple is not the only one to blame here, as many big brands see profit margins as their only incentive and have disregard for the consumer's beliefs and opinions. After all, issues can be covered up by a flashy marketing campaign which is worth billions of dollars anyway. And whilst we are talking exclusively about Apple here, these general points can be translated into a lot of big brands across the globe. And this means that consumers really must question what exactly it is that they are buying when they purchase new products, and whether they are actually comfortable supporting companies which may engage in unethical practices, and whether they are willing to pay a premium for a product that was made in an unethical manner, because ultimately, Apple products are not cheap. Yes, there's a lot of money that goes into R&D, and this ultimately makes Apple's products one of the best on the market, but does this mean that it's worth it? As one does have to question it all at the end of the day. To be honest, companies like Apple must be held accountable for their actions and must take steps to ensure that the production processes are both ethical and sustainable. Only then can we ensure that the production process of the iPhone and many other products which we take for granted is aligned with our personal values and that we are supporting a fair and equal global society.